The midday sun blazed down on the Italian restaurant patio in Miami's financial district like a weapon, turning the white tablecloths into sheets of light. Potted lemon trees flanked the wrought iron railings, their leaves trembling in the ocean breeze. Rafael Valenti sat at the corner table, his 8-year-old daughter Isabella across from him, her small hand wrapped around a fork, her blonde hair catching the sun. This was their Tuesday ritual. 1 hour. Just the two of them. No phone calls, no business, no blood. The piece of steak lodged in her throat changed everything. One moment she was laughing at something he had said. The next moment her eyes went wide, her mouth opening and closing like a fish pulled from water. No sound came out. The fork clattered to the plate. She clutched her throat, her small fingers desperate and useless. Rafael stood so fast his chair toppled backward. 20 men in dark suits materialized from the shadows of the patio, their hands moving instinctively toward their jackets. But their weapons were useless. Their numbers meant nothing. Their power evaporated. She could not breathe. His daughter could not breathe. "Get a doctor," he screamed. "Get a doctor. Get someone. Now." The restaurant froze. A doctor sat 3 tables away, fork suspended in mid-air, calculating liability, weighing a lawsuit against a human life. The security team stood paralyzed. One of his men pulled out a phone with trembling hands. Too slow. Everything was too slow. Isabella's face was turning blue. Then everything stopped. A woman in a stained delivery uniform exploded across the patio like a comet. Her name tag read Elena, Speedy Bites Delivery. Her shoulder seam was ripped wide open. Grease stained her wrists. She had dropped a bag of takeout by the entrance, and somehow she had known. Somehow she had understood that nothing mattered except this moment, this child, this breath. She did not ask permission. Elena wrapped her arms around Isabella from behind. The men in suits reached for their weapons, thinking danger. But Elena was not danger. She was salvation wearing a torn uniform. She placed her fist just above Isabella's small ribs and thrust upward with everything in her body. 1 thrust. 2. 3. The force was desperate, raw, the kind of strength that only comes when you understand what it means to lose a child. The piece of steak flew across the white tablecloth and skittered onto the marble floor. Isabella gasped. Air flooded her lungs. She coughed, 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 and then she was crying, and then she was breathing, and the world exhaled. Silence swallowed the patio. 20 men stood with their hands frozen mid-motion. The doctor lowered his fork. The security team did not move. Rafael knelt beside his daughter, pulling her into his arms, feeling her small body trembling against his chest. Her breath came in short, sharp gasps. She was alive. She was breathing. She was. He looked up. Elena stood 3 feet away, her hand still extended, her eyes locked on Isabella's face. Her name tag caught the sun. There was grease under her fingernails. Her delivery scooter was parked on the street outside, beat up and ancient, one tail light wrapped in duct tape. Her entire world, Rafael thought, could fit in that scooter. She had no weapons. No security detail. No empire. No power. And she had saved his daughter's life while his power meant nothing. "Thank you," he said. His voice did not sound like thunder anymore. It sounded like a man kneeling. Elena's eyes were moving across Isabella's face, checking, verifying, making sure the child was truly breathing. She did not look at Rafael. "She's okay," Elena whispered. "She's breathing. She's going to be fine. Come here." Rafael's hand extended. "Please." But Elena was already backing away, her eyes apologizing for something he could not name. "I have to get back. My next delivery is..." She stopped. She looked at Isabella one more time. Then she turned and walked across the patio, weaving between tables, moving toward the street where her broken scooter waited. Rafael's men watched her go, confusion written across their faces. They looked at their boss for permission to follow, to retrieve her, to bring her back. But Rafael did not move. He held his daughter, feeling her heartbeat gradually slow from rabbit-fast to normal. Isabella's breathing deepened. The color returned to her face. And somewhere in the center of his chest, in the place where Rafael Valenti kept nothing but weapons and strategy and the bitter memory of betrayal, something moved that he did not recognize. Something that felt like fear. But what neither of them knew was that Elena's world was collapsing faster than anyone could have predicted. What neither of them knew was that in 4 days, she would stand in front of this same child and make a choice that would shatter every rule he lived by. What neither of them knew was that 2 bullets already had Isabella's name on them. For hours earlier, on a rain-soaked highway outside Miami, everything had begun to unravel. The storm hit at 11 p.m., sudden and merciless. Elena's scooter sputtered 3 times, then died. The engine had been dying for weeks. She had spent the last of her money on her daughter's medication, and the scooter had been running on prayers and duct tape. Now the prayers were exhausted. She sat in the deluge, rain streaming down her face, soaking through her uniform, her delivery bag sitting useless beside her. The highway was empty. Streetlights bloomed orange in the distance, too far away to reach. Lightning crackled overhead like the sky was tearing open. She was 28 years old but looked older, worn thin by double shifts and sleepless nights and the constant calculation of which bills to skip, which medications to stretch, which meals to forfeit. In her pocket, she carried $2. $2 and a photograph of a man named Marcus, dead 3 years now, killed in a construction accident that no one cared to investigate. The photograph was worn soft from being opened and closed 1,000 times. She touched it when she was afraid. She touched it when she could not breathe. She touched it now, rain soaking the edges. Her daughter Ava was 6 years old. Ava had a congenital heart condition. Ava needed surgery. Ava needed $85,000 in 5 days, or Ava would not survive the week. Elena's landlord, Derek Collins, had made that calculation very clear. The black SUVs appeared through the rain like predators. 3 of them, moving slow, headlights piercing the storm. They surrounded her scooter before she fully understood what was happening. Doors opened. Men in tailored suits stepped into the downpour, their shoes worth more than everything Elena owned. She froze. The middle SUV's door opened. Rafael Valenti stepped out into the rain. He was 6'2", his shoulders broad enough to block the sky. His hair was dark, silvered at the temples. A scar ran from his left eye to his cheekbone, white and precise. He wore a cashmere coat the color of storm clouds. His watch, visible even in the darkness, was gold and probably cost more than her annual rent. He looked at her the way someone looks at a ghost. "Your scooter is broken," he said. His voice was deep and solid like an oath. Like it could make the rain stop if he commanded it. Elena's hands were shaking. She did not reach for the photo in her pocket. She did not move. "Yes," she whispered. "Where are you going?" "Home. To my daughter. She's 6. Elena stopped. She looked at this man in his cashmere coat, at the 20 armed men standing in the rain around her, at the impossibility of this moment. "Why does it matter?" Rafael did not answer immediately. He was looking at her in a way that made her feel like he could see through her skin, into the desperate, terrified part of her that she kept hidden even from herself. "Finally," he said, "because everyone matters. Even if they have forgotten to believe that about themselves." He gestured to one of his men, a lean man with kind eyes named Tony. Tony brought an umbrella and held it over Elena without asking permission. Rafael opened the passenger door of the middle SUV. "Get in," he said. "We are going to get you home to your daughter." Elena should have been afraid. Every survival instinct should have screamed at her to run. But she was exhausted. She was alone. She was drowning. And this stranger in his cashmere coat had seen her and done something instead of nothing. She got in. The SUV pulled into traffic, windshield wipers beating a rhythm like a heartbeat. Inside, the air smelled like expensive leather and something she could not identify. Rafael sat beside her, neither speaking, neither moving. Outside, the rain hammered down. The city lights blurred past like memories. "What is your name?" he asked finally. "Elena Hartley." "And your daughter?" "Ava." "She is 6. Elena paused. Her hand found the photograph in her pocket, but she did not pull it out. "She is sick. Very sick. I am running out of time." Rafael was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. It was still powerful, still carrying the weight of command, but something underneath it had softened. "Tell me," he said. "Tell me everything." So Elena told him. She told him about Marcus, about the construction accident, about raising Ava alone, about the double shifts that blurred into each other, about the medication that cost more than food, about Derek Collins and his threats and his hands that wandered places hands should never go. She told him about the foreclosure notice on her apartment door, about the hospital bill stacked on her kitchen table, about $85,000 and 5 days and the certainty that her daughter was going to die because she was born to a woman with no money. She told him everything. And when she finished, tears were streaming down her face, mixing with the rain from the window, and she felt broken in a way she had never felt before. Broken because she had spoken the truth out loud. Broken because there was nothing he could do. Broken because Ava would die anyway, and no amount of kindness from a stranger could change that. "You have my word," Rafael said quietly, "that your daughter will have her surgery. Within 1 week. The best surgeon in Miami. The best hospital. Everything she needs." Elena looked at him. She did not believe him. She could not believe him. But she wanted to. With every cell in her body, she wanted to believe that someone in this world still had the power to save someone else. "Why?" she asked. Rafael was staring out at the rain. His scar was visible now in the streetlight, a map of something painful. "Because," he said finally, "I have spent 15 years believing that power and money can control everything. And tonight, on that patio, a woman with neither of those things saved my daughter's life. She did not ask for payment. She did not hesitate. She simply acted." He turned to look at Elena. "And I realized that I have had it backward my entire life. The most powerful person in any room is not the one with the most guns. It is the one willing to lose everything for someone else." The SUV pulled onto Elena's street. Her apartment building came into view, a crumbling structure with boarded windows and a landlord who preyed on desperation. It looked even smaller from inside Rafael's world, even more hopeless. "Stay in the car," Rafael said. He stepped out into the rain and walked to her door, opened it, waited while she gathered her things. As she slid out, her foot caught on something, and she nearly fell. Rafael's hand caught her elbow, firm, steady, capable. His touch was warm despite the cold rain. "My men will watch your daughter tonight," he said. "They will make sure no one bothers you or her. In the morning, call this number." He handed her a card with nothing but a phone number printed on it. "Ask for Tony. Tell him you need Ava taken to the hospital. He will handle the rest." Elena looked at the card. She looked at Rafael. She wanted to say something, some word that could contain gratitude and terror and hope all at once. "Thank you," was all she could manage. Rafael nodded. He was already turning back to the SUV when Elena called out his name, though she did not know his name, had never asked it. He turned. In the rain, with a scar visible and the cashmere coat soaked through, he looked like a man who had been carrying something unbearably heavy for a very long time. "If you do this," Elena said, her voice trembling, "if you save her life, you will not regret it. I promise. I will spend the rest of my life making sure you do not regret it." Rafael was quiet. Then he said, "I will not regret it. I already do not." The SUV pulled away into the rain. Elena stood on the sidewalk, holding a card with a phone number, soaked through, broken, hopeful in a way she had not been in 3 years. Above her, somewhere on the 4th floor, Ava was sleeping, her small heart beating unevenly, counting down the days she had left. But what Elena did not know was that Derek Collins had already made his move. What she did not know was that Cordelia Blackwood, the wealthy socialite who owned half the buildings on this street, had discovered her situation and begun a campaign designed to destroy her completely. What she did not know was that in 4 days, she would make a choice that would change everything, not just for her, but for a man who controlled 3 states and had never known that love required nothing but a willingness to become powerless. The rain fell harder. The night pressed down. And 2 miles away, in a mansion overlooking Biscayne Bay, Rafael Valenti held his daughter while she slept, and for the first time in 15 years, he wept. 3 days before the rain. 3 days before the black SUVs. 3 days before everything changed. Elena Hartley woke at 4 in the morning to the sound of Ava's breathing. Not the normal breathing of a sleeping child. The labored, shallow breathing of a girl whose heart did not work the way hearts were supposed to work. In and out. In and out. Like a small animal struggling against a trap it could not escape. The apartment was dark except for the glow of the heart monitor beside Ava's bed, a machine that cost $800 a month that Elena could not afford but had stolen from the hospital anyway, unplugging it one night and walking out with it under her coat. The beeping was constant, methodical, a metronome counting down to something Elena refused to name. She sat on the edge of the mattress and watched her daughter sleep. 6 years old. Ava's small face was pale, her lips slightly blue at the edges, her blonde hair matted with the sweat that came every night now. The apartment's single-bedroom window would not close all the way, it stuck halfway, had been stuck for 2 years, and the landlord had never fixed it. Cold air leaked in. The building exhaled mold and age and the accumulated despair of everyone who lived here because they had nowhere else to go. Elena reached out and did not touch her daughter's chest. She had learned not to touch. Every touch woke Ava. Every waking moment was a moment Ava spent conscious of the pain. The kitchen was 8 feet away. Elena moved through the darkness without turning on lights she could not afford to waste. The electric bill was $17 behind. The water bill was $32 behind. The rent was $9,000 behind. On the kitchen table, arranged in columns like a graveyard of paper, were the medical bills. $85,000. That was the number. $85,000 for the surgery that would save Ava's life. $85,000 for a procedure that took 6 hours and gave a child more time on this earth to breathe without agony. Elena had circled the number in red pen. Then she had circled it again. Then she had stopped circling it because circling it did not make the number smaller. The hospital had called 3 times. The last voicemail was still on her phone, the robotic voice of Dr. Patel's scheduler, Ms. Hartley, we need to discuss Ava's surgery scheduling. Without intervention, her aortic valve will fail completely. Our records indicate you have approximately 5 days before the condition becomes non-survivable. Please contact us immediately to make payment arrangements. 5 days. Elena pulled out a chair and sat down at the table. On the seat next to her, she had arranged Ava's medication bottles in a line. Digoxin. Furosemide. Spirolactone. 3 medications that cost $140 a month. She counted the pills in each bottle, her hands moving with the precision of someone who had learned to count pills the way a general counts soldiers. 8 days of medication left. The prescription would run out on Friday. It was Monday. She opened her banking app on her phone. The screen glowed in the darkness. $212. That was all she had. $212 in a checking account that had overdraft fees attached, so really she had something closer to $185. She had already spent most of the weekend's tips on groceries, rice, beans, eggs, chicken bones she could boil down into broth. Ava needed to eat. The medication needed something in the stomach to work properly. Elena calculated, 8 days times $17.50 per dose equals $140. She would have $45 left. Rent was due tomorrow. Derek Collins, the landlord, had already texted her twice. Not texts. Threats in the form of text messages. Rent is 48 hours late, Elena. We need to talk about your options. Your options meaning anything but money. Meaning the way he had cornered her in the hallway last month when she was late with August's payment. Meaning the smell of his cologne, cheap, too much, like something trying to cover up what was underneath. She set the phone down. The linoleum on the kitchen floor was peeling in the corner where the pipe had leaked last winter and nobody had fixed it. She could see the plywood underneath, warped and dark with moisture. A cockroach skittered across the baseboard. Elena watched it disappear into a crack. She had stopped trying to kill them 6 months ago. There were too many. It was like trying to hold back the ocean with your bare hands. At 5:30, Elena showered in water that came out brown for the first 30 seconds. She had stopped being surprised by this. She washed her hair with the $2 shampoo that barely lathered. She dried herself with a towel that had holes in it. She got dressed in the black uniform the restaurant provided. It was technically hers to keep when she quit, but she had never quit, and she would never quit, because where else would she go? At 6, she woke Ava. The girl opened her eyes slowly. Her breathing quickened immediately, the way it always did when she woke. The heart monitor's beeping accelerated. Ava's small hand reached out and found Elena's. "Mama. Good morning, baby. I made you eggs." Ava did not want eggs. Ava's stomach hurt. But Elena held the spoon and Ava ate because she understood, even at 6 years old, that eating was what kept her alive. She took small, careful bites. Yellow yolk stuck to her chin. Elena wiped it away with her thumb. "Does your chest hurt?" Elena asked. Ava nodded. "Bad hurt or medium hurt?" "Medium hurt." Elena smiled. It felt like a lie, but she smiled. "Good. That means you are strong today." At 7:15, Elena walked Ava to the bus stop 3 blocks away. She held her daughter's small hand. Ava moved slowly. Children at school sometimes made fun of the way Ava walked, like she was thinking about every step before she took it. Elena had told her that was a superpower, that she was thinking carefully about the world when other children just rushed through it. The bus came. Elena kissed the top of Ava's head. "I love you so much," Elena whispered. "Mama, when will my chest stop hurting?" Elena's throat closed. She heard the hospital voicemail. 5 days. Approximately 5 days. Soon, baby. Very soon. I promise. The bus pulled away. Elena turned and walked back through Miami's early morning heat. The sun was already brutal, the sky that pale white blue that meant temperatures would break 90 by noon. She walked through Little Havana where she lived, past the bodega on the corner where the owner knew her name but she could never afford to shop there anymore, past the small houses with their doors already open, people sitting on steps drinking coffee before the day got too hot. At 8 o'clock, she clocked in at the restaurant. The diner was called Rosa's, though Rosa was dead now, had been dead for 7 years, and the restaurant was owned by a man named Gerald who came in once a week and counted the register. The kitchen smelled like grease and burnt coffee. Elena put on her apron and tied it tight. The first table arrived at 8:30. A lawyer in a suit that cost more than everything Elena owned. He ordered eggs and toast and coffee. He did not make eye contact with her. When she brought his food, he was reading something on his phone and did not look up. She left him alone. She had learned that some people did not see the people who brought them food. They saw the food floating toward them, and when they were done eating, they left money on the table, or sometimes they did not leave money at all. This man left $1 on a $58 bill. Elena picked it up and looked at it. A single dollar bill. Slightly wrinkled. She folded it and put it in the small apron pocket where she kept her tips. $1. At noon, the lunch rush came. the diner filled with construction workers and office people and mothers with small children. Elena moved between tables, her feet burning, her back aching, her smile permanent and fixed. She brought water. She brought napkins. She brought the check. A bachelorette party arrived at a large table, 8 women in pink shirts that said Bride Tribe across the back. They ordered margaritas and appetizers. They were loud and happy and they took pictures of their food before eating. When Elena brought the check, they had run up a bill of $124. They left her $3 and a phone number written on the receipt. If you want to make real money, call this number. Elena folded the receipt and threw it away. By 6 o'clock, when her shift ended, she had made $19 in tips. $19. She had come in with $212. She had spent $40 on Ava's medications that morning, the pharmacy had filled a partial prescription, and Elena had maxed out her credit card to pay for it. Now she had $191. Rent was due tomorrow. Rent was $800. Elena clocked out and walked to the bus stop. Her scooter had been making a strange sound, a grinding noise that came from somewhere near the engine. She had been taking the bus more, saving the scooter for emergency deliveries, the ones that paid slightly more. The beat-up Vespa with the duct-taped mirror was parked behind the restaurant, waiting under the brutal sun. She picked up Ava at 7:30 from aftercare. The woman who ran the program, Miss Rodriguez, pulled her aside as Elena arrived. Elena, the director needs to talk to you about Ava's enrollment. Elena's stomach dropped. What is wrong? Nothing is wrong. But the monthly fee has not been paid in. Miss Rodriguez checked her clipboard. 11 weeks. We need to discuss payment options, or we will have to withdraw her from the program. 11 weeks. 11 weeks of aftercare while Elena worked. Without it, there was no one to watch Ava after school. Elena would have to quit her job or leave her daughter alone. I will have the money tomorrow, Elena said. The words came out automatic, a lie she had told so many times it no longer felt like lying. Miss Rodriguez smiled in a way that suggested she had heard this before. From many people. About many things. Ava emerged from the classroom, her small backpack too large for her small shoulders. Elena took her hand. How was your day, baby? Good. We drew pictures. I drew colors for sad days. What do you mean, colors for sad days? When people feel sad, they can look at the colors and feel less sad. Elena knelt down and pulled her daughter close. Ava's breathing was rapid against her ear. The heart monitor in Elena's pocket, she carried it with her, the small beeping device that measured Ava's failing heart, began to accelerate. You are very smart, Elena whispered. That night, Elena opened her laptop in the dark. The internet connection was spotty, cutting in and out. She searched for ways to make money fast. Plasma donation centers. Payday loan places. Gig economy jobs. She found herself on a website advertising high-paying modeling opportunities for women her age. The pictures showed women in lingerie. She closed the laptop. At midnight, there was a knock on her apartment door. Derek Collins stood in the hallway in a polo shirt that was too small for his body. His cologne arrived before he did, cheap, overwhelming, like gasoline mixed with perfume. Rent day, Elena. I will have it Friday. I promise. Friday is too late. I have already given you 3 months of grace. Do you know how many tenants I could have in this unit paying full rent right now? Elena did not answer. Derek stepped closer. He was tall, wide, his presence filling the small hallway. We could work something out. You are a pretty woman. I am a generous man. There might be other arrangements we could make. Elena's spine pressed against the wall behind her. I will get you the money. I have heard that before. By Friday. I promise. Derek reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers brushed her cheek. Elena did not move. She had learned that moving made things worse. Friday, he said. or the locks change. And when they do, everything in this apartment becomes mine, including the girl. He walked away down the hallway. Elena went back inside and locked the door. She put her ear against Ava's bedroom door and listened to her daughter's breathing. Still there. Still alive. Still fighting. She went to her bedroom and lay in the dark and calculated. $800 by Friday. That was 3 days. That was for more shifts at the restaurant. $19 per shift times 4 was $76. She was $724 short. The hospital had called again. The voicemail played on repeat in her head. 5 days. Approximately 5 days. 3 days to find rent money. 2 days of medication left by Friday. 5 days until Ava's heart failed. The numbers did not work. There was no math that made them work. Elena fell asleep counting money she did not have. The next morning, she woke to her scooter keys in her hand, though she did not remember getting them. She dressed. She took Ava to school. She went to work. She was late leaving her restaurant shift, there had been a rush, and she had stayed 30 minutes extra hoping for tips that never came. At 6:15, Elena pulled up to the next delivery order, a Thai restaurant on the other side of the city. She packed the food carefully. She put the address into her phone's GPS. The route took her south, toward the highway. The sun was setting behind her, painting the sky in colors that Ava would have called colors for sad days, grays and purples and the deep blue of coming darkness. Elena's scooter made the grinding noise. It had been making it more frequently. She would have gotten it repaired, but repairs cost money, and money did not exist. The highway stretched ahead, long and empty in the summer dusk. Traffic was light. The road was open. Elena accelerated. The scooter made a sound like something breaking. Then it made no sound at all. The engine died completely. The scooter coasted, slowing, and Elena guided it to the shoulder of the road. She sat there for a moment, unable to move. Then she put her head on the handlebars. Behind her, in the distance, the city lights were coming on. Ahead of her, the highway was empty and dark. The wind picked up. Summer rain was coming, the kind of rain that turned roads into rivers and trapped people where they stood. Elena pulled out her phone. She had no money for a tow truck. She had no money for anything. That was when she heard the engines. Not one engine. Multiple engines, all at once, moving fast down the highway toward her. She looked up. Black SUVs. 3 of them. They moved in formation, moving fast, moving like they owned the road and everything on it. Elena's heart began to beat in rhythm with the heart monitor in her pocket. The SUVs slowed as they approached her. The first one stopped. A man stepped out into the coming rain. The rain came down like a blade wrapped in ice, cold and relentless, turning the empty highway into a river of asphalt and despair. Elena's scooter coughed once, twice, then died completely at 11:51 p.m. on a Tuesday, coasting to the shoulder of Highway 95 with a grinding sound that made her stomach drop. She sat there, soaked through her delivery uniform, her hands gripping the handlebars like they might save her. Behind her, downtown Miami glowed orange against the darkness. Ahead, nothing but black roads stretching toward a horizon she could not see. Lightning split the sky, turning everything white for a single terrifying second, and thunder rattled her bones so hard she felt it in her teeth. Her phone showed 4% battery and no signal. The starter clicked uselessly when she tried it again. 5 times, 6 times, the engine would not turn over. She pulled her phone from her pocket with trembling fingers. 4%. No Uber in range. No tow truck number she could afford. Her bank account held $2.37, and that was it. That was all the money between her and complete annihilation. Ava was with Mrs. Chen, her elderly neighbor, who had to leave for her pre-dawn shift at the hospital at 6 a.m. No way home. No money to call anyone. No options left. The headlights appeared first as twin white beams cutting through the rain. Elena's breath caught. 3 black SUVs, windows so dark they looked solid, moving in formation down the empty highway. They slowed as they approached her. The first one stopped 30 feet away. The engine killed. The doors opened. A man stepped out into the downpour, uneven drenched, even in darkness broken only by lightning flashes, he moved like power personified. Rafael Valenti was 39 years old, 6'2", wearing a black suit that probably cost more than her yearly rent. His dark hair plastered to his skull. His eyes, ice blue, unsettling, ancient, locked on her face with the intensity of a predator assessing prey. 2 more men emerged behind him, hands near their waistbands, their presence heavy and dangerous. Rafael walked toward her slowly. Each step deliberate. Each movement controlled. He stopped 3 feet away, rain streaming down his face. "You are the woman from the restaurant," he said, his voice deep and solid like an oath. "The one who saved Isabella." Elena nodded, unable to speak. She was shaking from cold and fear, hugging herself against the rain. "Why are you on this highway alone at midnight?" Exhaustion stripped her defenses clean. "My scooter died. I was delivering food. I need to get home to my daughter." Something flickered across his face. A shadow. A recognition of something. He studied her, the broken scooter, the wet uniform clinging to her thin frame, the way she was trembling. "Get in the car. My men will handle the scooter." "I can't. I don't know who you." "You saved my daughter's life 3 days ago," he said quietly, and there was something in those words that felt like a command wrapped in gratitude. "I do not forget debts. Get in." She got in. The SUV's interior was climate-controlled leather and the smell of expensive cologne, neon lights from the highway reflecting off wet windows as they drove. Elena clutched the faded photograph of her late husband Marcus in her pocket like a talisman, wondering what current of fate she had just stepped into. Rafael handed her his suit jacket without a word. She took it, her fingers brushing his for a moment, and she felt the warmth of him, the solidity. Tony, driving, kept glancing in the rearview mirror with confusion written across his face. Pietro, in the passenger seat, had his hand near his gun, watching her like she might explode. She was water damage on his boss's leather seats. She was a problem. "Where do you live?" Rafael asked, his eyes never leaving her face. Elena gave him the address in Little Havana. His expression did not change, but Pietro's eyebrows rose. That was the rough part of town, the part that men like this did not frequent. Silence for 3 blocks. Rain drummed on the roof like 1,000 fingers tapping out warnings. Then Rafael spoke again, his voice measured. "Why were you working this late?" "Most delivery services close at 10. Elena was too tired to deflect. "I take the late shifts because they pay an extra $2 per delivery. My daughter needs medication. It costs $140 every week, and insurance does not cover it." "What is wrong with your daughter?" "Congenital heart condition. Tricuspid valve malformation. She needs surgery to replace it or she will not survive past her 7th birthday." She said it clinically, like reading a grocery list, because if she let emotion in she would shatter into pieces they could never gather back together. "How much does the surgery cost?" Elena laughed, a broken sound that cracked like old glass. $85,000. I have $212 in my bank account and 5 days before her valve fails completely. So the answer is, it does not matter how much it costs. Rafael went silent. She could see his reflection in the dark window, his jaw tightening, his shoulders going rigid. Tony and Pietro exchanged the kind of glances 2 men exchange when their entire understanding of the world tilts sideways. They had worked for this man for 15 years and had never seen this expression on his face. Not when dealing with betrayal. Not when executing mercy. Not ever. The SUV pulled up to her building, a 3-story structure that smelled like mildew and old cooking oil, like 1,000 lives stacked on top of each other and slowly decaying. Rafael walked her to the door. she protested. He ignored her. Mrs. Chen opened the apartment at the sound of Elena's key, an elderly woman with kind eyes and worry etched into every wrinkle. She handed over a sleeping Ava wrapped in a thin blanket. She had trouble breathing around 9, Mrs. Chen said. I gave her the inhaler like you showed me. Elena's face went white. She took Ava, her daughter's small body limp and warm against her chest, whispered thank you, and disappeared inside. Rafael stood in the hallway, staring at the closed door. Through the thin walls, he heard Elena crying, trying to muffle it so her daughter would not wake, the sound of a mother whose world had narrowed to the single beating of a child's failing heart. Boss, we should go, Tony said quietly. Rafael did not move. He listened to Elena cry. Then he turned and left, but something had cracked in the armor he had worn for 15 years, ever since the night his own brother had betrayed him, ever since he had learned that mercy was a luxury men like him could not afford. The next morning, Rafael sat in his office in the penthouse of the Valenti Tower overlooking Biscayne Bay, morning light pouring through floor-to-ceiling windows. Pietro placed a file on his desk. Elena Marie Hartley's background check. 28 years old. Widowed 3 years ago when her husband Marcus died in a construction accident. Insurance denied the payout, claiming pre-existing safety violations. $43,000 in medical debt. A daughter with a genetic condition that would kill her without surgery. Elena was currently studying for a nursing degree online, 2 semesters from completion, but had to pause because she could not afford the $800 tuition. 67 hours per week across 2 delivery services and a weekend diner shift. 0 criminal record. 0 family support. Everything in her life was hanging by a single thread, and someone had scissors. Why do we care? Tony asked, standing by the window, arms crossed. She saved Isabella, we got her home safe, the debt is paid. Rafael read the file again. He was thinking about his brother Marco, who had sold the Valenti family to the Russo organization 12 years ago for $2 million and a promise of territory. Marco, who Rafael had raised after their father died, who he had trusted with every secret, every plan, every weapon. Marco, found in a warehouse with enemy soldiers, the betrayal so complete it nearly destroyed them all. Rafael had to choose, mercy for his brother, or survival for his family. He chose survival. Marco died screaming. Rafael learned that night that mercy is a luxury men like him cannot afford. But something about Elena, the way she held that photograph of her dead husband like it might save her child, the way she had saved Isabella without hesitation, without asking for anything in return, something about her defied every rule he had ever written. At that same hour, Derek Collins let himself into Elena's apartment with his master key while she was working. Derek was 42, overweight, wearing a golf shirt and too much cologne, smelling like the kind of man who had never been told no. He went through her things systematically, the medical bills, the eviction notices stacked on the kitchen counter, the photographs of Ava in every room. He took pictures of the medication bottles on his phone. When Elena came home at 6 p.m., exhausted from a double shift, he was sitting on her couch like he owned it. She dropped her delivery bag, fury replacing fear. Get out. You cannot be in here without notice. Derek smiled, slow and oily, the smile of a man who had never faced real consequences. I own the building, Elena. I can be wherever I want. You owe me $4,200 in back rent. I'm filing eviction papers tomorrow unless we come to an arrangement. What arrangement? You're smart. You know what I'm offering. 1 night, and I'll wipe out 2 months. That's a good deal. Elena's voice shook with rage. Get out before I call the police. Call them, Derek said, standing, his shadow falling across her small frame. I'll have you and your sick kid on the street by Monday. Good luck finding a shelter that takes children with medical equipment. He left, and Elena locked the door, slid down against it, her whole body shaking with rage and terror and despair. What she did not know was that Derek had already made something far more dangerous than a threat. That evening, Derek met Cordelia Blackwood at an upscale restaurant in Miami Beach. Cordelia was 47, blonde, surgically perfected, dripping in diamonds that caught the light like weapons. She was the wife of a real estate developer, the queen of Miami's charity circuit, and a woman who destroyed anyone she perceived as beneath her the way a predator breaks smaller prey. Derek showed her photographs from Elena's apartment, the cramped studio, the medical bills, the pictures of Ava. Cordelia studied them the way a curator studies a painting before burning it. This is the woman. This is her. She's pathetic. Why do you need me? Because you know people. You have connections. I want her broken completely, not just evicted, but humiliated, discredited, maybe even investigated by child services. Can you make that happen? Cordelia's smile widened, a smile like a blade through silk. For 20% of the building's value when you sell? Absolutely. I know 3 board members at Miami Children's Hospital. One phone call and they'll flag her as an unfit mother. The state will take the child. You'll claim the building is condemned and flip the whole thing for $3 million. They shook hands, leather, an expensive perfume and the sound of gears turning that would grind Elena into dust. On Friday morning, Rafael called Elena's number. She answered warily. Hello? Ms. Hartley, this is Rafael Valenti. I would like to discuss your daughter's medical situation. Meet me at Café Versailles at noon. I can't. I have a shift. I will pay you for your time. $200 for 1 hour of conversation. Silence. Then, I'll be there. At the cafe, a Miami landmark with mirrors and tourists and the smell of Cuban coffee thick in the air, Elena sat across from Rafael in a back booth. He wore a black button-down, no tie, looking almost normal except for the 2 men stationed by the exits, their presence heavy and immobile. Elena wore her cleanest jeans and a blouse with a small stain she had tried desperately to wash out. Rafael was direct. I want to pay for your daughter's surgery. All $85,000. In exchange, you will work for me. Elena stared. Her coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. Work for you doing what? My daughter Isabella needs a caretaker? Someone who understands medical emergencies, who can stay calm under pressure. You proved you can do that. I will pay you $60,000 per year, provide housing in a secured building, and cover all of Ava's medical expenses. You can finish your nursing degree. The surgery happens next week. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Why would you help me? I'm nobody. Rafael leaned back, his face impassive. You saved my daughter's life without hesitation, without asking for anything. That is rare. I pay my debts. What's the catch? The catch is that you will see things. My business is not always legal. You will keep quiet, you will be loyal, and in return, your daughter lives and you build a real future. Or you can walk away, and in 5 days you will bury your child. It was not really a choice at all. Elena signed the contract, her hand shaking so badly Rafael had to steady the paper, and she knew, in that moment of pen touching paper, that her life had just divided into before and after. But she did not know that in 72 hours, she would prove her loyalty in a way that would change everything. The pediatric cardiac wing of Mount Sinai Hospital smells like antiseptic and hope, a hope that tastes like metal on the tongue. Elena sits in a plastic chair outside operating room 4, her hands clasped so tight her knuckles have turned bone white, the skin stretched paper thin across the joints. She wears the same clothes from 3 days ago. She has not eaten. She has not moved except once, at 9:15 a.m., to use the bathroom where she stood at the sink staring at a stranger's face, hollow-eyed, aged by terror, barely recognizable. Rafael Valenti sits beside her in a tailored suit that costs more than her annual salary, the fabric all wrong against the fluorescent hospital lighting. His presence fills the waiting room like a low-frequency hum. 2 of his men stand by the exits, their stillness absolute, their eyes tracking every movement. She brought him here. He did not belong in a place like this, places of surrender, of helplessness, of hoping for mercy from forces beyond control. Yet here he sits, at 11:43 a.m., his expensive watch catching the light, waiting with a woman he has known for 72 hours. Ava went under at 7, Elena whispers, though Rafael already knows this. She needs to speak. Speaking means time is still passing. Speaking means the surgery is still happening. They said it would take 4 to 5 hours. The valve replacement. They said, her voice cracks. She tries again. They said she had maybe a 50% chance if they didn't operate. Now they're operating. The odds are better now. The surgeon said her heart is small but strong. He said that. Strong. Rafael says nothing. He has never been good at comfort. His world does not include comfort, it includes rules, obedience, payment, and retribution. Comfort is for people with soft lives. Yet he brings the coffee he purchased from the hospital cafeteria and sets it beside her. She does not touch it. The cup grows cold. At 11:58 a.m., another cup replaces it. Cold, untouched. Again and again, like a ritual of futility. The clock on the waiting room wall ticks. 12:04 p.m. 12:13 p.m. 12:17 p.m. The surgeon emerges through the double doors still wearing scrubs, still wearing the mask around his neck. His expression is neutral, professional, the expression of a man who has delivered both death and salvation and learned to keep his face the same either way. Elena stands so quickly her chair clatters backward. Rafael stands with her. The valve replacement was successful, the surgeon says. His name is Dr. Patel and his hands are steady. The old valve was more damaged than the imaging showed, but the new one is in place and functioning properly. She'll need 6 weeks of recovery, no school, limited activity, careful monitoring. But yes, she should live a normal life. A completely normal life. Elena does not cry. Her body does something else entirely. She folds, her knees buckling, and she collapses forward into Rafael's chest. His arms come around her without decision, muscle memory from some distant version of himself who knew how to hold people. She sobs, the kind of crying that empties a person, that strips everything away except the raw fact of survival. She's okay, Elena whispers against his shirt. She's okay, she's okay, she's okay. Rafael does not move. Tony and Pietro, watching from across the waiting room, exchange a look neither has seen in 15 years. In all their years serving Rafael Valenti, in all the violence and business and calculated cruelty, they have never seen him stand in a hospital holding a woman like she is something precious. Tony touches Pietro's shoulder and both men turn away, granting what little privacy is possible. Rafael is still for a long moment. Then, very slowly, his hand comes up. His fingers touch Elena's hair, just barely, the gentlest possible contact, and he holds her while she breaks. 3 days pass. 72 hours in which Elena moves between the hospital and the apartment Rafael provided in Coral Gables, a place with high ceilings and windows overlooking Biscayne Bay. Ava recovers in a private room with a nurse on rotation, her small chest wrapped in bandages, her vital signs stable and improving. Elena sleeps barely, checking the monitors obsessively, touching her daughter's hand every few minutes as if contact itself is medicine. Friday afternoon arrives marked by something normal, almost forgotten, Isabella Valenti's piano recital at the Arch Center. 4 p.m. Rafael texts Elena at 3:15 that he will be detained with business but wants Isabella to perform with family present. Would Elena mind bringing her? It is phrased as a question but carries the weight of a request from someone not accustomed to refusal. Elena dresses Isabella in a white dress with a cream ribbon in her dark hair. The child is 7 years old and serious about her performance, practicing the opening measures under her breath the entire drive. They park in the garage at 3:42 p.m. and walk toward the entrance. The October afternoon is warm, the kind of Miami heat that wraps around you like a living thing. The concrete is bright. The building gleams. Isabella holds Elena's hand and chatters about the other pianists and whether she will remember her timing for the final movement. Elena is smiling. This is crucial to note, she is smiling. After months of poverty and desperation and terror, after 4 bullets and surgery and the weight of a child's life hanging by surgical thread, in this moment she is smiling because a 7-year-old girl is excited about piano. 3 blocks away, in a black sedan idling across the street from the building entrance, a man named Victor Russo checks his phone for the 3rd time. He has waited 12 years for this moment. 12 years since Rafael Valenti destroyed his family's operations in retaliation for Marco's betrayal. 12 years since his brother was arrested, his empire dismantled, his name became poison in Miami's underworld. He has been patient. Patience, he learned, is a weapon more devastating than bullets. He has just received information that Isabella Valenti is at the Arch Center. Unguarded except for a delivery woman. A woman who is nobody important. A woman who matters to Rafael only because she takes care of his daughter. Victor Russo makes a phone call. "Do it now," he says. "The target is Isabella Valenti. Eliminate her. Send a message." At 3:51 p.m., Isabella and Elena are 40 feet from the entrance. Isabella is reciting the opening notes under her breath. Elena is thinking about how much Rafael's daughter reminds her of Ava, serious, intelligent, determined to be perfect. The car doors open. 4 men exit. Their movements are synchronized, professional. They have done this before, or something like it. They are moving across the sidewalk with purpose, their hands reaching inside jackets, and everything in Elena's body recognizes the pattern. Not thought, recognition. Pure animal recognition of danger. Isabella is 10 feet ahead, still walking toward the entrance, still reciting piano notes. Elena does not decide to move. Her body moves. She lunges forward, grabs Isabella around the waist, spins the child against her own body, and drops to the concrete. She curls herself over the girl like a shield, her hands pressing Isabella's head to her chest, her entire frame a barrier between the child and the guns rising into the Miami sunlight. The first bullet hits Elena's left shoulder. The impact is a shock more than pain, a force that drives through her and steals her breath. She holds tighter. The second bullet hits her ribs. This one is agony. This one is the sensation of fire entering her body, of something fundamental breaking. She feels the rib crack, feels her lung compress, and she cannot breathe, but she does not move. The third bullet hits her lower back. Her spine seizes. For a moment, her entire lower half goes numb. The fourth bullet hits her right thigh. She can feel the bullet tear through muscle, feel the blood begin its unstoppable flow. She does not scream. She cannot spare the breath. Instead, she whispers into Isabella's hair, "You're okay, you're okay, you're okay," and her vision begins to gray at the edges. The concrete is warm beneath her cheek. No, that is her own blood. Everything tastes like copper. On the sidewalk, people are screaming. A woman in a blue dress is shouting for someone to call 911. A man in business attire is running toward them. The gunmen are already moving back to their vehicle, hearing sirens approaching, the operation collapsing into chaos. Isabella is crying beneath her, a sound like a bird trapped in a closed fist. Elena holds her smaller and tighter. "You're okay," she whispers again, and then darkness comes like a hand closing over her eyes. Rafael receives the call at 4:02 p.m. He is in his office overlooking Biscayne Bay, reviewing financial reports on the legitimization of his import business, when Tony bursts through the door without knocking, something Tony never does. "Isabella," Tony says, and that single word contains everything: fear, urgency, the collapse of the world into a single catastrophic moment. Rafael is on his feet. "Where?" "Arch Center." She was with Elena Hartley. "For shooters." Elena took, Tony's voice breaks slightly. Elena took the bullets. 4 of them. Isabella is physically unharmed. Elena is in surgery at Jackson Memorial. Rafael's mind does not process this information through the usual channels of thought. Instead, it bypasses consciousness entirely and moves directly into action. His car is waiting downstairs. His driver is already moving. The drive from his office to Jackson Memorial Hospital is 17 minutes in normal traffic. Rafael covers it in 6 minutes, traffic laws irrelevant, the city itself bending around the force of his need. He finds Isabella in the pediatric wing surrounded by police officers. She is physically unharmed but hollowed out, her eyes the eyes of a child who watched something terrible happen and cannot process it into meaning. When she sees him, she breaks. She runs to him and he catches her and holds her while she screams, while her entire small body shakes with terror and trauma. He does not let her go for 45 minutes. When Isabella finally exhausts herself into silence, when her breathing has slowed to something almost normal, he hands her to a nurse with careful instructions and walks to the surgical floor. The surgeon intercepts him in the hallway. Dr. Monica Shah, chief of trauma surgery, a woman who has never been impressed by power or money or the presence of men with scarred faces and expensive watches. Ms. Hartley is critical but stable, Dr. Shah says without preamble. One bullet nicked her left lung, another fractured her third rib, the third missed her spine by 4 centimeters, and the fourth is lodged in her thigh. We've extracted 3. We're keeping the fourth in place to avoid additional vascular damage. She lost blood but not more than we could manage. She'll survive. Recovery will take months, but she'll survive. Rafael's hands clench into fists. His knuckles actually crack with the pressure. She saved your daughter's life, Dr. Shah continues. She is looking at him directly, not intimidated, not impressed. If she hadn't covered her, at least 2 of those bullets would have struck the child. Your daughter would likely be dead. Ms. Hartley made a choice in a fraction of a second. She chose someone else's child over her own survival. Rafael stands in the hospital hallway under fluorescent lights and something breaks inside him, not dramatically, not audibly, but completely. His shoulders drop. His jaw releases. And for the first time in 15 years, tears fall from his eyes while Tony and Pietro watch in stunned silence, unable to process this evidence of their boss's humanity. He walks to Elena's room and sits beside her unconscious body. Her left shoulder is heavily bandaged. Her breathing is supported by a ventilator. Her hand is cold when he takes it. He sits and he waits and he plans what comes next. Because while Elena sleeps, while Rafael keeps vigil in the hospital darkness, Cordelia Blackwood and Derek Collins are already moving, already seeing opportunity in vulnerability. At 6:24 p.m. on Saturday morning, Derek files paperwork claiming Elena abandoned her apartment and violated her lease. At the exact same moment, Cordelia calls Florida Department of Children and Families with an anonymous report. Elena Hartley is a single mother unable to provide care, her child is in the custody of a known organized crime figure, and the child's welfare is at immediate risk. By Monday morning, a DCF investigator and a police officer arrive at Elena's apartment with a court order to remove Ava from the home. Rafael's security stops them at the door. The investigator produces the paperwork. There is a court order. There are grounds. There is nothing security can legally do. Rafael receives the call from Tony at 2:53 p.m. on Monday. He is sitting beside Elena's hospital bed. She has been unconscious for 3 days. Her color is improving but her breathing is still assisted. Rafael listens to the words, removal, custody, state care, dangerous environment, and something hardens in him like concrete setting. He has 2 hours before they take Ava. He stands. He walks to his office on the hospital's administrative floor. He sits at a desk and he makes 2 phone calls. The first is to his lawyer, get emergency guardianship papers filed immediately. I want legal custody of Ava Hartley as Elena's designated representative until she recovers. File it with Judge Martinez. She owes me a favor. Have it on her desk in 45 minutes. The second call goes to a number he has not dialed in 6 years. When the voice answers, Rafael says, I need 2 people disappeared. Completely. I am sending you photographs and addresses. Consider this payment for the shipment protection you still owe me. This is not negotiable. By 5:34 p.m. Monday, a guardianship order is signed by Judge Martinez. By 6:15 p.m., Ava remains in the apartment under Rafael's legal custody. Derek Collins never sees it coming. He leaves his favorite bar in Coconut Grove at 11:21 p.m., drunk and confident, when a black van pulls alongside. 6 men in tactical gear move without hesitation. Hands over his mouth. Zip ties. Movement. When Derek wakes, he is in a warehouse, bound to a chair, and across from him stand representatives of the Moretti family, Rafael's oldest rival, the people Rafael has just traded him to in exchange for closing a debt. The Morettis have questions. Derek screams answers that satisfy no one. Simultaneously, at 11:34 p.m., Cordelia Blackwood sits at a charity gala at the Perez Art Museum in a dress worth $3,000. An FBI agent taps her shoulder and produces a warrant. Fraud. Embezzlement. Conspiracy. She is arrested in front of Miami's elite, the handcuffs bright against her expensive wrists. Rafael sits beside Elena's hospital bed at 2:02 a.m., watching her sleep, knowing he has crossed a line he swore he would never cross. He chose mercy. And mercy, he is learning, might cost him everything. Elena's eyes open to white light and the steady beep of machines. Her chest screams. Every breath is fire. The morphine drip pulls her down, but she fights it. Her voice comes out shattered, barely a whisper. Ava. Where is Ava? Rafael sits in the chair beside her bed. He has not moved in 5 days. His jaw is dark with stubble, his expensive suit wrinkled, one sleeve rolled up to show the gold watch that costs more than Elena earned in a year. His eyes, those terrible, beautiful eyes, are red-rimmed and hollow. She is safe, he says. His voice sounds like it has been dragged across gravel. The people who tried to take her are gone. Elena does not ask what gone means. She is learning the language of his world now. She reaches for his hand, and he takes it like it is made of glass. You should not have done it, he whispers. You should have run. I know what it is to lose everything, Elena says. The words cost her. Speaking costs her. Everything costs her now. I could not let you feel that. He closes his eyes. In the silence, machines beep their electronic heart song. Month 1. Elena sits in a physical therapy room on a Thursday at exactly 3 p.m. Rafael arrives like clockwork. He never stays longer than 20 minutes. He just sits while she does her exercises, her arm moving in small circles that send lightning through her shoulder. His men whisper that the boss has a schedule now. The boss, who once kept them waiting until midnight, now appears at the same time every week without fail. Your rotation is better, he says, observing her arm rise and fall. It hurts less, Elena lies. He knows she is lying. His eyes say so. But he does not push. He simply sits there, a man who has built an empire through violence and cruelty, watching a woman he barely knows learn to use her arm again. When he leaves an envelope on the table. Inside is a gift card to the physical therapy clinic, $5,000. Elena does not use it. She puts it in a drawer and pays her own way. Month 2. Elena moves back to her apartment with Ava, but nothing is the same. The building has new security, men in dark suits stationed in the lobby, cameras in every corner. Her rent is paid in full for 2 years. Ava's medical care, every appointment, every medication, is covered by a private insurance policy that appeared in the mail with no explanation except a note in Rafael's handwriting, for Ava. Elena tries to thank him when he visits. She has learned that he visits every other day now, sometimes bringing Isabella, sometimes alone. He brings groceries, not cheap groceries, but the kind that cost money, fresh fish, imported cheeses, vegetables that are never bruised. You took 4 bullets for my daughter, he says, his voice low and dangerous like a storm gathering over water. This is nothing. But his eyes say something else. His eyes say everything. Month 3. Elena returns to work as Isabella's caretaker, but it becomes something more. She finds herself helping with Rafael's legitimate businesses, scheduling, logistics, bookkeeping. Numbers have always made sense to her. She finishes her nursing degree online, coursework burning late into the night while Ava sleeps. The tuition bill disappears. A Valenti Foundation scholarship, the letter says. She recognizes his signature on the authorization form. They have dinner twice a week now. Always professional. Always with other people present. But Tony and Pietro, his oldest men, exchange glances when Rafael watches Elena across the table. The way his eyes follow her when she is not looking. The way he positions himself so he can see her. The way he listens when she speaks, truly listens, like her words matter more than the business calls stacking up on his phone. Month 4. Elena stands in the Valenti Tower conference room, a glass palace 40 stories above Miami. She wears a navy suit that costs more than her old monthly rent. She runs Rafael's medical supply import business now. She manages his charity foundation. She sits in meetings with men who once terrified her, men who carried guns in shoulder holsters and violence in their eyes, and they listen to her recommendations like she has earned her seat at the table. Because she has. She has rebuilt herself from the ground up. From a woman with $2 in her pocket and a dying child, to this. A woman with a salary and a title and a future that extends beyond the next 5 days. But she notices things now. The way her favorite coffee, black, no sugar, with a precise amount of cream, appears on her desk every morning at 7:15 a.m. The way dangerous meetings are scheduled when she is not in the building. The way Rafael positioned himself between her and the door the one time a rival family representative visited, his hand resting on the table like a threat wrapped in silk. She notices. And the noticing becomes something else. The something else becomes everything. It happens on a Tuesday. No crisis. No drama. Just an ordinary afternoon in Rafael's penthouse, 22 stories of floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Biscayne Bay. Ava and Isabella sit cross-legged on the Italian marble floor, playing chess with a board that looks like it belongs in a museum. Rafael kneels beside them, his tailored shirt cuffs rolled up, his gold watch glinting as he moves a piece. "Your queen is unprotected," he says to Isabella, the daughter he once swore would never see weakness in him. "I want her to be brave," Isabella says, serious as a priest. She is 8 years old and has never known a world where her father was anything less than invincible. Brave and protected, Ava adds, watching the board. She is 6 now, healthy, her small chest rising and falling without effort, without pain. You can be both. Rafael moves his piece. He lets them win. Elena watches from the kitchen, and something in her chest cracks open like ice breaking over spring water. It is not dramatic. It is not violent. It is quiet and certain and absolutely irrevocable. She is in love with him. 6 months later. It is Friday at 9 p.m., and Elena stands on the balcony of the Valenti Tower penthouse. The city spreads below her like scattered diamonds. Biscayne Bay is black mirror glass reflecting the moon. Rafael arrives home exhausted, 2 weeks in Sicily handling family business, the weight of his empire sitting on his shoulders like a suit made of stone. He finds her on the balcony and joins her in the silence. Elena hands him whiskey without asking. She knows his habits now. She knows everything about him, the scar on his ribs from his brother's knife, the way he takes his coffee, the nightmares he thinks no one hears at 3 a.m. "Why did you do it?" Rafael's voice cuts through the night. "The bullets. You could have run. You could have saved yourself. Why did you cover Isabella?" Elena does not look at him. The city lights blur. "Because I know what it is to lose everything. I could not let you feel that. You barely knew me. I knew enough." The silence stretches. Water laps against the seawall far below. A car horn sounds, distant and small. "When my brother betrayed me," Rafael says, his voice like thunder moving across distant mountains, "I chose survival over mercy. I killed him. I had to. And I swore I would never let sentiment make me weak again." But then you stood in the rain with $2 in your pocket and more courage than any soldier I have ever commanded, and something I thought was dead woke up. Elena turns to face him. What are you saying? I am saying that for 6 months I have watched you rebuild your life. I have kept my distance because you deserved the choice. You are not some desperate woman I rescued, you are my equal, my partner, the person I trust most in this world. And I am in love with you. I have been since the moment you saved Isabella without hesitation. But I need you to know, loving me is dangerous. My enemies will never stop. If you choose this, you choose a life where there is always a target on your back. Elena steps closer. I took 4 bullets for your daughter. I think I already chose. He kisses her. It is not gentle or tentative, it is 6 months of restraint breaking, it is 2 people who have survived hell finding something worth protecting. 2 years later. Elena and Rafael stand in a private garden, Ava and Isabella scattering rose petals like snow. Elena wears a dress of ivory silk. Rafael wears a suit the color of storm clouds, a gold cross visible at his throat, faith and fire mixed together. They exchange vows written in their own hands, promises that carry the weight of everything they have endured. Elena has her nursing degree framed on the wall of her office. She runs the Valenti Foundation's medical charity programs. Ava is healthy, running, laughing without the shadow of pain. Rafael has stepped back from the criminal operations, using his power to protect rather than destroy. They are not perfect. They are not safe. But they are together. Elena stands at the window of their home, the 2 of them, Ava and Isabella, and thinks about the woman she used to be. The woman with $2 in her pocket. The woman who believed no one would ever choose her. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only love can do that. If this story moved you, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs hope today. Subscribe and turn on notifications, we have more stories that will change how you see the world. Drop a comment, what would you have done in Elena's position? We will see you in the next one. Remember, sometimes the most powerful act is choosing to protect someone when the world demands you destroy them. Thank you for staying with us until the very end. We wish you good health, a joyful life, and days filled with peace and happiness. Goodbye, and we will see you again in the next video.